Don't look now. This is the fastest week in the NFL. It's coming at you fast, and it's going to get even quicker come Christmas. What do the Chiefs do about Mahomes and everybody else today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody. As always, our guy, Matt Derrick, our man on the ground in the locker room and everywhere from ChiefsDigest.com, joins us today. We're going to go over where this team is on what is a shorter week. Looking forward to the Texans. Can't ignore what happened against the Browns. Thanks for being with us. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as NFL33.com and RGRFootball.com. Check out those as well as Chiefs Digest here on YouTube, as well as on .com Chiefs Digest. It's my favorite way to say that. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another Locked On show for your next one. Like, sub, hit the bell, become part of the group here. And if you want that much more, you can get it on the text line at 816-350-787-81. Yes, you Kansans can call that too. It's perfectly fine. Now, Matt, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk full strength for the Texans. What does that actually mean, and just how full is that cup? That's coming up later in the show. The aftermath from the Browns. There are some things that we have to discuss that are not Patrick related, but we start at the top where it always is, the QB1. A little bit maybe shifting of gears today as he was on the podium, gonna try it out. I love the concept. Let's try it out on a high ankle sprain. Makes me nervous. But how did you read the decision that they're going to let him practice? They're going to let him see how he feels. And Andy Reid just pretty much just said, we're going to let the kid decide.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that I think you and I, Ryan, are on the same page. That when we hear, I'm not going to say the word I'm thinking here, but I'm just going to let it stand and just say when you hear minor high ankle sprain, I kind of think minor head injury and minor gunshot wound. I mean, there's not really such a thing. So I don't know. It's hard because we know that one way or the other, the Chiefs were going to go full propaganda mode this week anyway. I mean, they want to make sure the Houston Texans and even the Pittsburgh Steelers on the other side of it, that they think that Patrick Mahomes is going to play. So they want these teams, especially the Texans, to be preparing for true quarterbacks, because there's no doubt. I mean, if Carson Wentz plays, it's a different game plan. It's a different strategy. So, you're going to, if you're the Texans, you're going to have to prepare for both quarterbacks. And if Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes just came out and said, he's going to play, or he's not going to play this week, you take away all the mystery. So I can't divorce from the fact that Chiefs we're going to do that anyway. So it's kind of regardless of how Mahomes looks and feels. But you really get into it and then you start thinking of, okay. And Andy Reid addressed the question today, which was, are you going to take into consideration Saturday, Wednesday? Because we know that coming back after playing on a Saturday and then having to play that quick on a Wednesday on an ankle sprain isn't easy. So, in one way you could certainly look at it and say, look, if you want Patrick Mahomes to play on Christmas Day, you probably don't want him to play on Saturday. So, but Andy Reid's not having any of that, I mean, from the way it's being presented and the way that the Chiefs are talking about it, I mean, I'm expecting Carson Wentz to play, especially the fact that they put him on the podium on Tuesday. If they thought that Patrick Mahomes was 100% to start or even 80% to start, I don't think we would have talked to Carson Wentz today. So that, I think, is a pretty big, indicator right now of at least what their thinking is.
I think it's a decision point, and you got to let him be there or whatever, but you got to protect him from himself. And I do think that there's something to say that, okay, if you had to play, if you really had to, you could. Okay, fine, you're going to be the backup. I don't know that you need to go to the third quarterback, so we'll just call you the backup. You help him out. Make his adjustment. Let Carson shine a little bit. What was your impression then of Carson and his first real appearance in terms of actually getting to the point where he may have to prepare to be on the field?
Yeah, I mean, in the limited action, I thought it was fine. He had a couple of really good throws, picked up a first down after, getting first and 15 after the false start penalty. And that was really the only blemish when Carson was out there. They got a couple of those calls, and that's just what can happen when you get, a new quarterback that comes in. You're not used to the cadence, especially when you've got some guys that go off the cadence. I mean, Juwan Taylor has not heard of Carson Wentz as much, and he is a cadence guy. So if he plays with Carson Wentz, I think you're going to get a couple of false starts from him. We saw a false start from Trey Smith. I mean, I think Xavier Worthy, did he have the other one? You can get those when the backup quarterback, just not everybody's used to the rhythm. If the more snaps they get with Carson Wentz this week, the better off they'll be. And I'm expecting that they're going to get a decent number of snaps. The only thing that was really confusing to me was just that, the Chiefs did list Patrick Mahomes as a full participant on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Now, it was a very light, breezy practice, so doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that was at least, and whether once again, that's just an attempt. Not saying you're not supposed to be able to be, manipulate. Let's put that word. Let's use that word on the injury report. So we got to take it as it is. But that was an interesting development. The truly one interesting development to me on Tuesday.
I agree with you there. There were a couple others. We're going to talk about them in a minute, but just with the impression of Carson today and what you think. I agree with you. I would be cautious and I would play Carson. With what he said today and what that you need to accomplish, what does change for you? How do you approach playing Carson over Mahomes against the Texans?
Well, I mean, if you got to go with his strengths. I mean, and that's the one thing. I mean, the Chiefs in the past they've had some times that they've had quarterbacks that obviously don't have Mahomes' skill set. But, they didn't feel like they had to change the game plan a whole lot. I think you do have to change the game plan a little bit more with Carson Wentz because they are really two different styles of quarterbacks. Carson, I think, is a lot more comfortable under center. Play action is a much bigger, tool in his bag than it is for Mahomes, especially from under center. I don't think he's as comfortable in the shotgun as Mahomes is. So those things you do have to tweak. I mean, and Andy Reid's got the playbook to do that. I mean, they've got the ability to, shade this, the game plan in the direction of Carson Wentz. But it, also means you're going to run the football a lot more. And hey, running the football from under center, is that actually an advantage? Could be. Here's the crazy thing, Ryan. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that if Carson Wentz plays, he has a good day, because it's going to be kind of something that the other defenses haven't seen. They're not used to, but Carson Wentz is, his goal is, I think, going to be to just play a simple game manager as he can. And if that means handing off the football, it means taking his drop and delivering the ball on time and on schedule. He's not going to do any crazy, dancing around, moving around the pocket, trying to escape, anything of that nature. He's going to either throw the ball or he's going to throw it away. I mean, that's what's going to happen if the pressure comes. So, to me, that's one thing that the Chiefs have just been missing. I mean, you feel like, and Mahomes even alluded to it on Tuesday when he admitted that he made a mistake, trying to take that deep ball to Justin Watson instead of taking the, short, shallow cross to Xavier Worthy, because that probably would have gone for a huge gain. So that's the thing, is that I think there's a chance that Carson Wentz could play and have a really good game.
Kick up the efficiency. There's an idea for a guy who doesn't have the tool bag. I like it, and I would happen to agree with you. But there are a couple of other factors that are going to weigh into how that goes. What are they coming up next? Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook. The app gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more in the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back. And with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the CFP begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading to our first matchup. The Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. I hope you are as excited about the college football playoff as I am, Matt, because I can't just say SMU. I got to get it all out there. So a lot goes into that. A lot goes into stealing.
I'm excited. I'm just glad there's finally a playoff because,
right.
And the fact that this year, no one has a legitimate argument for not being in the playoff, because if you didn't make the playoff this year, win more games.
Who is you?
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into dealing with the repercussions from the Browns game. There's a lot. We're going to talk about maybe the biggest one coming up in a little bit because it's a little murky. But I think the situation with the concussion to Shamari Connor is honestly about as dire as it can be, because you got some good performances, particularly out of your other safeties in this last ball game. But you cannot expect that going forward. The Jameis Winston experiment in Cleveland renders those results fairly often. So what do you take away? What's the adjustment with my assumption that Shamari is not going to clear protocol by game time, and you are going to be without him in this coming contest against the Texans?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that all the doctors and the experts will say is that, hey, every concussion is not the same. They're all different. But that looked like a pretty serious one. Now, we don't know a whole lot of details, but, you even in the best case scenario, you need 3 to 4 days to be able to go all the way through the steps of the concussion protocol, which makes, even on a short week, difficult to get through. It's going to make it just as difficult to even get through, next week to be possibly for the Steelers. So, you're facing the possibility of 2 games, but going into the Texans, you've got 2 challenges. One, you're going to need to address who's going to play in the slot. Is that going to be Trent McDuffie? Is there another corner that you really trust? I mean, the Chiefs' backup there is kind of Chris Roland Wallace. I mean, that's the guy that's, spent the most time in there. So that would probably make the most sense as being the alternative to Trent McDuffie. But then you've also got the question of who's going to cover Nico Collins and how are you going to tackle him? Because I mean, I would be very surprised if Trent McDuffie doesn't travel this week and just go wherever Collins goes, because that's the guy that they've got to shut down. You don't want him going off on you, because that's the one guy that CJ Stroud can connect with and have a big day. So, does that mean that, hey, if you do that with Trent McDuffie, then you're going to need a couple of other solutions? And you mentioned the safety situation, because, yeah, I mean, Shamari Connor's technically a safety, but you don't really have any other safeties that you're going to be using as a slot corner. So as much as you should, and I love Jaden Hicks, he's not a slot corner guy. No. Justin Reed's not. Brian Cook's not. So you're not using any of those guys in that role. You're going to use probably Jaden Hicks more if you decide to go more of some dime looks and you just go ahead with a third safety, but you're going to have some 3 corner looks out there at the same time. So, I think there's still an opportunity to get Hicks out there, but not in the same way that Connor was used. You're going to have to use your corners in that spot. And that means that you're going to have probably 2 guys at corner that are not Trent McDuffie on the field at any particular moment in time. And the Chiefs have been trouble even finding the one guy that they really like at that spot.
It's a very good point. And when you look specifically at the matchups, John Mechie's one thing, but the thing that doesn't fit, the square peg and a round hole in this game plan is going to be Tank Dell. Because if you march out Joshua Williams there, that's a mismatch in terms of acceleration and deceleration and the ability to get loose. If you try to go Nazi, that's fine. He's got some more maneuverability to him, but I don't know if his confidence is all there. And then you have the rookie, CRW, right? So for me, I think Tank was 2 for 2 last week. Not a huge output, but clearly there. Mechie about the same. I think it was 50%. You have to, I think, for the Chiefs, be very much on guard for the non-Nico Collins guys, because they will chip away, as I think that they're prone to do for their quarterback. Do you feel like they have to do something more drastic there than just try to get the matchup they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good question. But I mean, part of it, I kind of take it the other way. I mean, I take it as some of it is that if you can take out, if you can trust Trent McDuffie to just go ahead and remove Nico Collins from the situation, I mean, that's going to get you part of the way there. And you got one advantage, which is that he doesn't play a ton of them in the slot. I mean, he's primarily an outside guy, so you're going to be able to rest on Trent McDuffie playing outside most of the time. So that gives you the luxury then maybe a little bit of, at least going up with pure matchups about who's going to be out there, not having to worry as much about where Collins is lining up. I mean, unless this is a week where the Texans decide to just put him in the slot all day to make sure that Trent McDuffie's there, and then you can kind of dictate matchups a little bit on the outside. But, if that's the case, then you're not the Chiefs and having to maybe rely on Chris Roland Wallace as much so that you can have him and then McDuffie be interchangeable. If you can lock on the fact that you just know that, hey, either you're going to put Roland Wallace in the slot or somebody else in the slot. I don't think Steven Nelson's ready yet. I don't think he's coming back, and he's going to be more comfortable outside anyway. So I think that's where his role is. But as long as you kind of feel like you know where you're going to line up McDuffie, then you can kind of play matchups a little bit. And you're right. I mean, it's going to be tough because you do have. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you're really almost going to have to go with that 1-for-1. As long as the Texans make substitutions, you're going to have to substitute too. I don't think if you're the Chiefs that with that kind of dynamic group of receivers, at least in different kind of skill sets that they all have, I don't think you can just leave three guys out there the entire time and count on that working. I mean, I think you're going to have to shuttle guys in and out to make sure that you're matching up.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you have to put pressure on them the opposite way as well. A lot of talk about Hollywood Brown being back for this ball game. If you're able to, whoever the quarterback is, consistently move the ball efficiently, use him to stress the defense a little bit. Do you think he comes back, given where we're at right now today? And is that enough to kind of counteract and keep the ball out of the hands of the Texans a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm about 50-50 on Hollywood this week and whether or not he comes back. I mean, a lot of indications are pointing in the direction that he will be back. Still not sure that, it's the smart thing for him to be coming back so quickly, especially if Mahomes isn't playing. I mean, because remember that he didn't get a ton of time with Carson Wentz. I mean, if he and Carson Wentz spent any time on the field during OTAs, and training camp, it was few and far between because normally Brown was out there with the ones and Wentz did not normally work with the ones. So you're not banking on that past, working workload between Brown and Wentz and being able to take advantage of that. And if you're doing it as the Chiefs proclaim that they're doing, and you're kind of splitting time this week between Wentz and Mahomes, it's not like he's going to get a ton of reps this week with Hollywood. So I don't know if you're really benefiting a ton there. Now, if it's just, hey, getting Hollywood out for a few snaps here and there, maybe just to get his feet wet, and especially then kind of be ready for Pittsburgh on the other side of it, I can't see a scenario where Hollywood Brown's playing 60 snaps and then comes back and is ready to play 60 snaps against Pittsburgh. I mean, I think if you get Hollywood out there, it's more like probably in the 20 snap category. Especially if he's playing with Wentz, because I think you want to lean on the guys that Wentz knows better. And, one thing, I'll be really interested to see what the Chiefs do at receiver this week, because they certainly can just bank on the guys that they've got and just decide to go with that. But, he worked a lot more with guys like Nico Remigio, and he and Montreal Washington had a great connection on deep balls in training camp. I'd be really tempted if I'm the Chiefs that if Carson Wentz plays on Saturday to elevate Montreal Washington to be one of his guys. I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but I'd be really tempted to do it.
Oh, that's a great point. And I love the concept of that. Just throw something completely new at them. I'm here for it. We don't know if everyone will be here for it, though. And that's what we have to get to, especially up front, because the Chiefs are not full strength in maybe the most critical aspect of this game. Depending on who the quarterback is, what do they do on the O-line? That's next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Gametime app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that $50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? They definitely happened to me, and they helped a lot. There's a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant on your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel the unwanted subscriptions, monitoring your spending, and helps you lower your bills and everything that you're spending to grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, helps you, whether it's your subscriptions, your spending habits, or your goals that you want for this year. Rocket Money has 5 million users, and they've saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they're using the app's premium services. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions right now and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. The art of the triple, Matt, is hard to find, especially when you don't want to find it in the first place. There are three out of 5 of the Chiefs' top linemen on the injury report. Now, as you said, it's just light practice today, but 2 of them in full. But what it tells you is this is the point. We have arrived here, folks. Attrition hurts. Everybody's hurting at this point. And as of this morning, even on a light day, DJ Humphries not able to go, was not participating in practice. That tells me all I need to know for how I feel about this week for DJ Humphries. What does it tell you?
Yeah, that to me, the fact that he wasn't practicing on Tuesday in a short week, that's pretty good indication to me that he's probably not going to be available this week. So we'll just say trending in the wrong direction right now. Could he still become available? Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. So I wouldn't bet against it at this point, but I just don't think it's incredibly likely. I mean, and with a hamstring, once again, I mean, the Chiefs are managing a lot of these injuries for the longer term. I mean, their most important consideration still is trying to be ready for the beginning of the postseason. And yes, they understand the reality that they've got to keep winning in order to make sure that they can clear up and clean up. And if they can win the next 2 games, it doesn't matter what the Bills or the Steelers do. They would end up locking up the number 1 seed. So they know they still have work to be done. But they also want to make sure that they've got people that they need for the postseason. And so, yeah, you got Jawan Taylor, who's also been dealing with a knee issue, and that's been affecting them for sure when he's been going into the indoor practice facility. Definitely like to limit him there. You definitely don't like to see Creed Humphrey popping up on the injury report with the ankle injury. You knew about DJ Humphries. Yeah, it's not great. I mean, the one thing, at least, like you said, Ryan, is that they're all those guys were full participants. So outside of DJ Humphries, you feel pretty good about them playing this week.
Got to keep your fingers crossed. And it makes it tough to really plan. I'm hopeful that this is a rest period, that they're not rushing it, but I want them to get back. For the best aspect for this team to accomplish that goal of winning these 2 games, I think him playing versus Pittsburgh is pretty adamant, because that pass rush scares me more than this pass rush for the Texans, even though you have to respect Will Anderson and the track that his career is already off to. And Danielle Hunter's Danielle Hunter. So it becomes, how do you then counteract that? Do you feel the performance that Joe Toney put in against Myles Garrett, who is arguably a higher echelon pass rusher than either of the 2 he'll face against the Texans? Does it demand that Joe goes back out to left tackle this week?
Yeah, and you kind of hit on, once again, I mean, the question that Andy Reid doesn't want to talk about, but it says that he doesn't want to take into consideration. But, I mean, it kind of has to be, I think, a little bit, at least in the back of their minds, that if you play DJ Humphries on Saturday, can he come back on a Wednesday with that hamstring? I mean, it's just like Mahomes. That's a consideration I think you have to take it, if he can play back-to-back games that quickly. And if, either way, the Pittsburgh game could end up being pretty important. I mean, in almost any scenario, unless the Bills were to lose this week and the Chiefs lose to the Texans, both, then that Pittsburgh game really becomes important. But there's a lot of scenarios where, the Chiefs can put things away against Pittsburgh, so that one I think you want to win. You could probably escape losing to the Texans, but I don't think they're going to lose to the Texans, even if Carson Wentz plays. And I think the Chiefs feel that way too. But all of that aside, and coming back to the Tooney question in particular, I mean, I thought Joe Tooney did a professional job, especially against an edge rusher like Myles Garrett. He didn't give up a ton of pressures, didn't give up, any sacks, and it wasn't all beautiful, but he just consistently found a way to put his body between himself and Mahomes and Myles Garrett. I mean, keeping himself in the middle. Wasn't always on his feet, wasn't always in the best spot. And, and some of it, hey, when you're playing with 4 different left tackles and you're also playing with a guy left tackle that you haven't played in the game, outside of a few snaps in a long time, you're not necessarily comfortable in knowing what's going on behind you. Joe Tooney sets a different pocket than the other left tackles than the Chiefs have played this year. So, getting that one game under their belt. Now, if Carson Wentz comes in, eliminates a little bit of that, what you gained last week. But I've got no problems with Joe Tooney in the short term playing left tackle. Long term, yes, they're better off with DJ Humphries at left tackle and Joe Tooney at left guard, where he's one of the best in the biz. So you want that. But I'd have no problem if they need to continue playing Joe Tooney there for a game or two until DJ Humphries is 100%.
Well, like Joe Tooney, you are one of the best in the biz. So tell me how this game goes down.
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? And it's because it's been a crazy whirlwind week, Ryan. I haven't even really thought about my prediction yet. Nobody's asked me about a prediction yet. You're the first one. So I'm going to revise, declare my right to revise this later in the week. But hey, I feel like that I think it's going to be in kind of that 7 to 10 point range. I mean, I feel pretty confident about the Chiefs being at home with a lot to play for. Even if, like I said, Carson Wentz plays, I think I'm comfortable with that. So I don't know if my prediction would change a lot based on who the quarterback is. There is a lot of moving parts to this, but for now, put me down for like 24-17.
I like it. You're going to get mine on Friday, folks. I'll probably give you 2 just because I will make a difference on the quarterback. But you can get all of Matt's information as we get to that point this week here on ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube. Make sure that you like, sub, and hit the bell here on this channel. Check out RGR Football, NFL 33, and even Casey Chiefs Corner because Chris isn't here, but he's still writing, so check it out. Matt, thank you for the time, setting us straight and keeping us on the straight and narrow on a short week and getting ready for Christmas and everything else.
Trying to do my best, Ryan. Take care, my friends.
Have a great night, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow getting you ready for the Texans. And don't worry, even though it's Christmas Day, we're going to get you ready for the Steelers as well. Don't miss a day. Thanks for being here. We will enjoy this time as you get ready, and we will talk to you tomorrow.